I got a box in the mail. Let's see what we got here. Got some rivet nuts. More rivet nuts. A deburring tool. Oh, what the heck is... Oh, okay. I remember now. It's a countersink. And I've got a countersink because countersunk screws, machine screws. And these will go well with this is a riv nut setter. Let us sacrifice a 3/8/16 and just see how this works. Go tighter and tighter if you want, I guess. Maybe this has something to do, oh, this has something to do with length here, I guess. I was just reading the instructions on what all of these little things do. And basically, this part sets the stroke. You can tell the stroke by looking at the scale. And then when you want to remove it, after it's set, spin that nut, and it unscrews out of the nut. That's pretty cool. And what I'm going to do with all this is I'm going to drill these hinges. I've got 4 like this, and I've got 4 like this. These are used from the top panel to the top header. These are used between panels. And then when I drill the holes for these 3/8/16 bolts, I'm then going to use this I'm going to use this countersink, and that is going to allow that nut. That's an 82 degree, that's an 82 degree. So yeah, I'll be able to countersink that. That'll give me a flush hole in each of these hinges. And what that means is, because I've got corrugated iron going here, it's not bending outward. Corrugated iron won't be offset. It'll be offset a little bit because of the thickness of the hinges, but not a whole bunch more than that. I don't know, it's just to dress up. It's one of the few things I'm doing to make it look good. Now I'm bolting everything because I don't want to weld. If I weld, it can distort these hinges like I did when I welded them the first time and I had to make them work. Plus, I don't have any choices. Once they're welded, it's really hard to back up and do something different. So bolting is better. For the other reason is these panels are awful heavy, and it's easier for me to just bolt these together when they're hanging up there instead of trying to weld it, drag the welder around, and I can just see what kind of disaster that would be. So I'm going to bolt them. I'm going to make 2 templates. This is the standard hinge. These screws are going to be 2 high and 1 low, but because this is going into a 2-inch piece of metal, 2-inch by 4-inch beam, my working area is about there to there. So these have to be closer together. These aren't so critical because this is going into a 4-inch beam, so I can have these wider spaced out. What I have to be careful of is that on the inside of the tube, that shoulder doesn't interfere with have an interference fit with the inside of the tube. So I'm just trying to give a little bit of a gap so that's nice and clear on the inside. This is not the proper stuff. You're supposed to use a copper coat or a moly coat, or there's something special formula for stainless steel on stainless steel. I don't have it. This is better than nothing, so I'm going to use this. The other thing is, I drilled these holes out. These used to be really tight. Now I've got about 1 millimeter clearance. And that means if there's any slight misalignment, what there's going to be, if there's any misalignment, it won't catch onto these threads, and it won't cause a nick in those threads, and it won't then go ahead and gall inside this thing. So we'll see how we go with that now. So I've got my tall ladder, but I've been also kind of dragging my feet on this next step. It's only 14 feet. I'm not afraid of heights, but I respect gravity. Working up there is not that much fun. I'm going to take you up there and show you what the plan is today. Welcome to the top of the door. The next step involves removing this drip rail. The drip rail and the siding. I have to do that because behind here is the beam that I want to attach the hinges to. The drip rail is here for a reason. It keeps rain from dripping into the seam behind, or the gap. Well, the problem being, if I cut this drip rail, it's going to leak. I can bog it up all you like with all sorts of sealers and stuff, but it'll still leak. So the best idea is to just keep this intact and put the hinges behind it. But there's a problem with that, and I'll show you what that is. The proper way to do this is to remove the siding, remove the drip rail, because that's behind it. The trouble is, this flashing here is holding the siding on, and it goes all the way to the top, all those screws. The problem with that is, this is already at 14 feet. That's high enough. So I'm going to cut along here, which is about just above the beam that's behind it. It's a 4-inch thick beam. And I'm going to remove this lower part. Once I get behind it, I can remove this drip rail. Then I'll show you the next step down below. This is the structure for the door. It's a 2 by 4 inch bit of iron. And behind here, this is a drip rail. That's the siding. And I want to get to the beam that's behind there. Let's take that apart. The siding's off. Now I have my drip rail. Now remove that. So, put the hinge on. These are the hinges I'm using. That's about the gap that I want to have. It's about 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch. That's a decent gap. I can seal that. The problem comes, look what that does to the drip rail. The drip rail is now about 1/2 of an inch from where it used to be. And that's fine. I can fill this gap in some other way, either from siding to the door, or whatever. There'll still be a seal behind it. And then the siding that will go onto the door itself, going that way, going down, that can fit in there. That should be fine. So that's the reason for pulling off this here, and that means I don't have to chop into it here and cause a leak. The drip rail itself is still functional. So that's the plan.
that gap isn't too bad. It's a little bit bigger than the one on the other side. So I'm going to try to adjust it so it doesn't get at least smaller than that. The gap up here is good. It's a good tight fit. So should be able to move that. that'll do, so I can mark these holes. Okay, that one's done. Well, the top panel of the door is up. So what I have left to do is I'll put the bottom panel on. And I've already had these two pieces together. So all I'm going to have to do is just get it close, and then I'll use the pipe clamps and such that I got to just get them into place. It always surprises me how these doors hang with just their own weight. Being the hinges are on the outside, the hinge pins are on the outside there, and they're on the inside on this first, between the first top and lower panel. But that's how it hangs normally. Yeah, so I ruined too many bolts because of the stainless steel, galling on stainless steel. I've ordered some more bolts, and they're carbon steel, so hopefully that won't happen again, or at least not as bad. My next mission here is to put the channel up on the inside, or the track for the roller. It's going to go in the bottom corners of this bottom panel, and that will keep the bottom from swinging inward when it opens.
And once I get that done, I can start thinking about the cable suspension and counterweights. My objective is to hang the pulleys up there, counterweight from this corner, and I'm hoping that I can counterweight the door good enough where I don't really need to use a crank or any way to mechanically open this other than just push it up and pull it down.